Hello again, everybody. Today we are going to be talking about means of expressing the past in English. We can express past actions in English by using the following methods. We can use the past simple tense, grammatical forms such as used to, would, be, and get used to, the past continuous tense, the past perfect tense, the past perfect continuous tense, and finally, the present perfect tense. Now, all of the perfect tenses will be discussed in much more detail in the 6th lesson. So if you're curious about them, and why wouldn't you be, wait. It will be much better to wait until we cover them together. So today, all we will be discussing are the past simple, the grammatical forms used to, would, be, and get used to, as well as the past continuous tense. So to express past actions in English, we use primarily the past simple tense. So let's look at some constructions using the past simple tense in affirmative, interrogative, and negative sentences. And be sure to watch out for words like was or verbs ending in ed, because these will all tell you that the past simple tense is being used. So the following adverbs are used to indicate that the past simple tense is being used. Words like yesterday, the day before yesterday, last week, last year, last month, or words like, or phrases like a week ago, a year ago, a month ago. You get the idea. So now let's examine some cases of usage of the past simple tense. For example, I can say, last time I told you about my life and my home. Or I can also say, yesterday we didn't go outside because it was too wet. Or finally, I can ask you, did you prepare for the exam last week? Here I'm talking about actions that both started and finished in the past. And in this usage, the time is usually indicated. You will usually know when these events are occurring. However, I can also say something like, he locked his car and then he entered his house. Or, for example, the family sold their country home and then moved to town. Or something a little bit longer. Dad looked after Mom when she was younger, but then after she grew up, he looked up to her for being perfect at everything she did. And in this case, I'm using the past simple tense to show the succession of events, that one thing happened after something else. And there's one more usage of the past simple tense that we need to know. I can also say something like, I felt bad yesterday, or her food smelt excellent, or even, I was happy when you told me. Here, we are using this structure with stative verbs that are talking about my state at the moment, tired, happy, good. And in this case, we also use the past simple tense. But if we're speaking about repeated actions in the past, we can use the following construction. Something like, Grandma says Dad always used to be the black sheep of the family, disobeying his parents, missing classes, and hanging out with a bad crowd. Or something else like, when I was young, I did not used to stay out till late at night. Here we're using used to with the infinitive to talk about something that repeated a lot, a habit, but in the past. In the same meaning, we can also use the structure would with the infinitive. Just like in the sentence, when I was young, I would not stay out till late at night. Here, again, we're talking about a repeated past action, but be very careful. We cannot use would with the infinitive in the second sentence. This is because the verb to be is a stative verb. And if you say that someone would be something, it sounds like you are forming a conditional. Here, you must use the phrase used to. So, In the following examples, you will see how these two structures can be a little bit different. Jane used to be a doctor, but now she works as a teacher. You could not say, Jane would be a doctor, but now she works as a teacher. The meaning is very different. The same for the phrase, they used to be wealthy, or they would be wealthy. Would be has a completely different meaning than they used to be wealthy here. So to summarize this segment, it would be wrong to say that Jane would be a doctor or that they would be wealthy. In these cases, because we are using stative verbs, we can only use used to. However, if we are talking about actions, we may use used to or would with the infinitive. There is also one more grammatical construction, to be or to get used to something, but be very careful because the meaning of this structure is very different from just saying to used to do something. For example, if I say, I got used to the weather in Britain very quickly, or if someone asks you, how can you put up with such a noise? And I tell them, well, I got used to it. What it means here is to become accustomed to or to become familiar with something that happened in the past. You didn't know it before, but now it's very familiar to you. You know it well, you are accustomed to it. You're used to it. So now let's move on to discussing the past continuous tense and some of the ways that we use it. So now let's turn to the way that the past continuous is constructed in affirmative, interrogative, and negative sentences. To form the past continuous tense, you just use the verb to be in the past tense, combined with the present participle, the ing form, if you remember, of the main verb. The following adverbs are signal words or indicators that the past continuous tense is being or should be used. At the moment, still, the whole day, all day, while, for an hour, and so on. So now let's discuss some cases of usage of the past continuous tense. For example, I can say that I was eating dinner when you phoned me yesterday. Or, if you're one of my colleagues and you ask me, what were you doing at work yesterday? Oh, I was writing my report at work yesterday. Or, finally, if I'm talking about someone else, I might say that, oh, yes, I saw Tom yesterday. He was walking home from work. Here, I'm talking about an action that was in progress at a specific time yesterday, or just in the past. It was happening at this time. However, in English, we also have to very often talk about two actions in the same sentence, where one action happens during another. And in this case, we use both the past simple and the past continuous tenses. Just like this. I can say that Danny was playing on the computer when his mom called him. Here, the second action, his mom calling him, interrupts the first action. It happens while. Now, this doesn't mean that he must stop playing on his computer. It just means that the call happened while he was on the computer. However, if we want to talk about two actions that are occurring simultaneously at the same time, we need to use past continuous for both of them. He was singing while he was walking, or she was eating while she was resting. And here, I usually connect these phrases with the word while. And finally, I can talk about events that are developing or changing in the past. For example, I can say something like, it was getting colder and colder. Or, for me, English was getting easier and easier every day. Here, I can use the past continuous just like I used the present continuous. Earlier we learned it is getting colder and colder, and to move that statement to the past, all I have to do is change is to was. It was getting colder and colder. So, to sum up today, we've discussed three forms of talking about the past. We've discussed the past simple tense, the past continuous tense, as well as a small set of three grammatical forms to discuss the past. So now let's review everything by looking at the table. Bye-bye. See you all next lesson.